This one will now be recorded.
Right. Let's get a motion to come back out of recess.
Motion to we come out of recess.
I'll second. Okay, motion second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. So,
We're back in.
we're
Back in session.
That being said, we got item M before us is the next item, and that's going to be to consider approved departmental changes. But Commissioner Stirk has that.
Yes, sir. Consider approved departmental changes and compensation with the sheriff's office in the setting of the salaries and allowances of all county officials, public officers, and employees for the 2022 budget year. And that comes in the form of a motion before the sheriff sends us something else.
Is there a second? Okay, thank you. So there is a motion with the second. So that's going to put it up for comments or questions. With that being said, comments or questions?
I just want to say how much I appreciate our sheriff's department. They don't get much recognition for what they do. It's a tough job.
I will echo that, Mike. And Sheriff and I have had these conversations over the years, and I began to see that the two greatest economic investments that we can make into a community is not only our law enforcement, but also our school systems, because people will move where they feel safe, and they'll put their kids where they feel like that they can do the best opportunity. So definitely a good thing. I would just add to this, I had a chat with the sheriff this morning, and I'd like an opportunity to have some conversation with him based upon his proposal and dig down a little bit deeper. I looked at this a couple of times with him and would like to request that portion, meaning the departmental change and compensation for the sheriff's department, based upon his request, that we set aside that portion of it, give he and I and maybe another one opportunity to really look at some things. One of the things that I had shared with the sheriff was, if we go with the elimination of the one investigator position, then it could set a precedent that should other officials say, hey, I want to convert and I want to give employees pay raises by eliminating that, only to come back at a later time and possibly have to need the refunding of that position. So that was a concern that I had for us administratively. Could it set a precedent? So there may be some other areas that we could explore that we might still be able to accomplish much of what he would be seeking. However, being able to dig down a little bit deeper into this, I sure want to give that opportunity so that we don't go in a direction that, well, you did it for the sheriff. I want, same opportunity. So that being said, Sheriff, you're standing up, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, and I think we've opened it up for discussion, is that correct?
Correct. I request you to.
Thank you. No, and yes, I've had talks, and we've gone around with these figures and things like that, and I know there's some time deadlines that I was concerned about, and I spoke at great length, a month ago, of my needs, Commissioner, what I needed, how I wanted to go about it. And I understand what the judges bring out about the legality of maybe, or not even the legality, the precedence of setting it for other departments. I came to you with this concession, if you will, and I made this comment. I think somebody remember. I told you that I wouldn't be a communications specialist if you paid me $100,000. I'm not qualified to do that job. I emphasize the fact that we have deputies going to other places. Listen, guys, this is a department top to bottom. It's a business that, we just, as Commissioner alluded to, he praised us, and in that same time, you've got so many people that aren't doing that. I'm not finding the qualified applicants that even want to do this job anymore. Kind of like the nursing field. Nobody wants to do this job anymore. I've got people that wanna do it, they're not qualified, they're people I'm not gonna hire. If I have to get out and I have to patrol and I have to answer a call at the tax assessor's office, then so be it, that's what's gonna happen. The figures that you have before you, and I hope everybody has those figures, that money was, as we talked about from the investigator spot, was allotted down, departmental wide, if you will, and I hope that, there were no misconceptions about how I was gonna appropriate that money or how I felt it was best for my department. If there was, I apologize. I don't think that anybody ever thought that it was just, that whole money was gonna go to some other department. If I'd come to you with the aspect of this was coming out of communications, I wasn't able to fill communications, wasn't able to fill the jail, that money was still gonna be spread out through that department, being fair. And as we've discussed today, and it's been said, our county, we're well reserved. We're well reserved. There's no new tax rate, simply for the ability to be able to appropriate the money that I was blessed with by the taxpayers. Also, this court designated to my budget. I came to you a month ago with this same thing in mind, to be able to distribute that through my employees to create an increase in pay to them at no new increase to the taxpayers. The numbers that I have proposed, they've changed 3 times at least in listening to input from various people and trying to be fair. And that input has been great. And there are things, and I love that input because it did get me to see some avenues where I was lacking, if you will, where I needed input. Guys, I'm the sheriff of this county, but I'll tell you right now, I'll take input and I will process it. I spent a situation yesterday all day long where I'm taking different inputs. We're going through these crises, but ultimately I've got to be able to answer for them. And for me to come here today to be able to ask for this, especially, now with there's no new increase in our tax rates. This is not going to be a burden on the county. Again, I'm blessed with this court being able to appropriate in the beginning this money to me. So I would, I don't know, Judge, I understand you. I don't know that tabling this is going to make a bigger difference. I don't know. It's something that you guys, and y'all know I'm open. I'm open to whatever you decide. I presented this back 30 days ago to consider and approve. It's here before you today, along with the entire county budget, if you will. So, again, I mean, I'm just asking that the court, do what I will work with however we need to proceed with this to make it best for the county. So, be glad to take any questions, anybody. I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna ask Brian, you've only had a couple of investigators for a good while.
Yeah.
You probably never had four at one time.
No, well, it has started out to be in the narcotics realm too, spinning off of that, if you will. I mean, all you've got to do is look and see how our crime rate and the major crimes that we do investigate. But not only that, just the number of calls that your primary deputies are going on. There's definitely a burden, but at the same time, I go back to, I'm not going to hire an individual that is, yes, he may have a peace officer license, but there's more to it than just that, to be able to come to work for my department. Now, in later years, when you get another sheriff, there may be something that may change totally. They may hire every person that's not qualified, may be addressing somebody totally different, But as the elected official, I just come to you the way that I like to run my business. Not perfect. We make mistakes like everybody else, but I'm just trying to do now what I feel is best for my department and for the people of Tyler County.
And I remember this fourth investigator position came from when you had two chiefs and one of your chiefs quit and left, and went to do something else.
Exactly, went on to better,
You did.
bigger and better things.
Well, like I
Yeah.
said, went to the
Yeah.
dark side, I think.
Yes, sir.
But, you did away with some upper level administration that you did.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, I've thought about it. I don't know that, and I've got to get Don East to check the minutes. The last time I think that we actually had to add an employee, if you will, was, back in our jail division when the jail commission required that for us to be within state standards. So, you know,
I would just add that, when Brian and I talked this morning, I couldn't find it in our budget, Mike, and I know that we've got this somewhere in here, because with the overtime and then the part-time, there's a line item somewhere that we've got to charge, you know, what's occurring with them, which is already in the salaries as opposed to a position. But I had proposed to the sheriff that if we could preserve that position and then go down into the salaries portion of it, because right now, with the overtime, that's at a time and a half rate. And so if he can get beefed up and fortified in his stability with his deputies, so he's not having to compete on the global market with his staff, then possibly let's look at that. And that's what I proposed to him, is that maybe we can just crunch some numbers, look at that line item, and maybe move that money up from salaries, which would be overtime and part-time, and look to see about funding what he is requesting on this, as opposed to setting this precedent of eliminating a position with, it's already existing. Because what's going to happen is if he doesn't fill it, it'll just roll over, you know, to the next year. And if the DA's office can ever get ramped up, he might possibly need some more services and assistance with either another officer or something like that. And we'll already have the preservation of that in the line item itself. So my thought was, when I visited with him this morning, if we just set aside action on this portion of it, we've got until the 30th of the month to take formal action on all of our items. So we're not looking at anything new in the budget itself. It's already going to be there either in overtime and part-time versus the position itself. But regardless, I just wanted to call that to y'all's attention. I'd like that opportunity to delve into this a little bit more and then come back with another proposal for us. And that's on just the portion of the departmental changes and compensation in the sheriff's department. Move forward with the salaries and the allowances of the officials, precinct officers, and the remaining employees for 2022.
Well, I'm on the opposite. I appreciate the good faith and the sheriff working it out where we didn't have to put the burden on taxpayers. But, I mean, it's his department. He's the sheriff. I'm good with it if that's what he thinks he needs.
But do you understand, Joe?
Yes,
It's not
sir, I
like as
do.
if we're not, it's not like we're eliminating his request. We're just looking at
Yes, sir. I know.
doing it from a different line item. Any additional comments?
I mean, I don't have a problem with, if he hadn't filled that position in a while and wants to change it, I'm the same way as Joe. I think we could just go with it.
And gentlemen too, if I may add, I mean, it's, you know, and with what the judge is saying, we've got to be realistic here about the setting a precedence, if you will. If it doesn't matter whether I'm the sheriff in 2 years, 3 years, 4, next month, if the next sheriff comes in here and tells you, hey, you know, we're shorthanded now, we've got to have this position. That is your decision to say, hey, no, sir. This is the way this is done. I mean, so, and, you know, you've got to trust as, you've got to be able to trust your public officials, your elected officials, if you will, your department heads to what we've been elected to do, whether it be myself, whether it be your tax assessor, your JP, it doesn't matter. Commissioners, we've got to answer the people. We've got to, if they've got our trust, their trust in us, I would hope that everybody else had their trust, and I hope that, like I said, I hope I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing what I feel is best at this point in the jump.
How many years have you been operating with the one investigator? You told us a while back.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
over
long.
a year, easily. It's easily over a year. And I'm telling you, Joe, it strictly comes back to the fact of qualified applicants to be able to start from bottom to move up. Very seldom, in the past, I was blessed to have individuals that were retired from other agencies or that they just simply wanted to be here and be out of the Houston area. You get those few and far between, but at the same time, you're retired individuals, you understand, and I understand that I'm gonna have them so long. They're not gonna be here for 10, 15 years. You're gonna have about a 2-year window on those, so.
You're down 3 investigators.
Yes,
How many
correct.
deputies are you down?
Down right now, 1, 2, yeah, we're down 2, yes. Yeah, so hopefully we're hopefully within the next 3 months, we'll be able to move a jailer position to the deputies where that will get us somewhat full except for the workman's comp issue. And at that time, we've already got one in mind to move up to the investigator spot, because really once that one deputy spot is filled, that's when we can begin that rolling up, if you
But then
will.
they'll leave you in jail spot.
Exactly. But I mean, it's just, we
So
almost,
you're down 2 spots, empty, 3 investigators.
3 investigators, yes.
One deputy, you're
Yes.
down 4 spots right
Yes,
now.
exactly. And again, those investigator spots, they're a dime a dozen as far as getting someone that's outside the department. Those are coming, like I said, again, you get blessed with those sometimes, that we have nothing on the line for that. Those will come internally from the patrol side. Yes. Yes.
Okay, any additional comments? I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. I don't know that it's gonna get a second, but I'll just request that we set aside so the sheriff and I can have a little bit more conversation. If it's a good decision today, it'll be a good decision tomorrow, and I think moving forward with, the good decision, if there is a question, if there's a concern, we can have a little bit more time to vet it out. With that being said, I would request to amend the motion for setting aside action on the departmental change for the sheriff's department and bringing that back at a later time. Request a second. Going
Already
once.
a motion to approve this, did we?
We had a motion in a second to talk to that. Consider.
That's what I said, motion is second.
I'm just,
Keep doing an amendment, I guess.
right, just for that portion of it. Going once, going twice.
Judge, I don't know why we would just not go ahead and do it, if that's what the sheriff wants to do.
Well, that's what he's asking for a second. So if he doesn't get a second, then it falls back to the original.
I'm just asking that we set aside this action on this portion of the request today. Move forward with the rest of it. I think the amendment's gonna fail for lack of a second. Well, Brian, we'll try it, man. Okay, so that puts it back into the full motion itself, item M. We have the motion and second. Any additional comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye? And it was unanimous. Thank you. That takes us to item N, and that's the update policy in the employee handbook regarding all salary payouts, including longevity. Commissioner Blackshaw.
I'll put that in form of motion.
Okay, there is a motion.
Second.
There is a second.
Okay.
Comments or questions?
Now that we, yes, sir. Leanne had sent out an email to everybody, and years ago, working with the Road and Bridge, had a guy that worked with me, and he retired like, I want to say October, but I can't remember. And, we get the checks in November, And I didn't think it was right then, and I don't think it's right now, that we don't pay our employees out their longevity pay. Because it is part of their salary. It's budgeted for them. But, and Lee Ann probably can speak more to that. But, it was just, when I saw it, I jumped on it because that's the burr under my saddle, because that's not taking care of your employees. And I'd like to go back to January 1, 2021,
Make it retroactive. to
Yes.
January 1st.
from January.
Is that an amendment to, or an add-on?
But I didn't know if we needed to do that in discussion or we need to.
And
Why
when it
do
becomes,
we-
and when it becomes
Right,
effective.
what you want to do?
Say that again?
I think you
I
covered
just
it,
need to
Joe,
know,
because you said when it becomes effective.
Right.
So you're
Yeah.
articulating what
Okay.
you want that to be effective. Okay. Let's see, Leanne, you started to say something.
Well, I needed it to obviously be a policy because we didn't have it as a policy. And then I needed it to include whether or not it was gonna be retroactive and, you know, what it all included. Because like I said, as of right now, it doesn't stipulate anything other than who gets it. And it doesn't go back as far as, you know, when you separate from the county as a retiree or when you, so that's all needed.
Okay, any other comments?
Prorated termination of, and that covers anything, right? Is that what you're saying, Leanne?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, if it's termination, that's a little bit different than separation. And as far as like your own, you leaving, so there's some times where, I mean, because,
Right, it's worded as termination, so I don't know if there's a better word for you to actually when they become.
so I classify
Retired,
everything
you're
as
not
a
covered.
separation.
For that,
Right, so a separation has different degrees, and there's a separation form that every employee has to fill out when they leave county employee, employment. So the separation would indicate whether or not it was your leaving, your idea to leave, or it was somebody else's idea. And so did you hire, did you get another job? If it was that kind of situation, then yes, I think we should pay. If you were fired and it wasn't your idea, I'll pay.
I think we should pay them in any way they leave the county. They earn that. We
That's their money.
decided to pay them once a year. They earned it up until that time where we terminated them or they left on their own accord. So anything, I would like to see anytime they leave, they get prorated out
Up to that
up to
point.
that point they're going out, yeah, on their longevity.
So any type of separation from the county, they are paid their longevity
Prorated to the time that they leave.
prorated.
Yes.
Prorated to the time that they leave.
Effective retroactively to January 1st, 2021, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
January 1st, 2021.
And that is, they have to be here 3 years before they start receiving longevity?
Correct, and it's paid out on the fourth year. So they start receiving it on the fourth year.
And that'll be, it don't matter what month it falls in on the year, it'll be the following year when it starts.
Yes, or so like if you're June and you've been here 3 years in June of whatever, your actual payout doesn't start until your completion of the third year, but it pays out its fourth year. So January of fourth year.
January, yeah, the following year.
So start on December 31st, the same time you do your house as your homestead, you get credited for the whole year.
For the minutes, then it might be helpful for that to be articulated so that in the event somebody ever needs to come back, they would understand, even though the motion was at termination, a more clear description that you were talking about, Stephen, that for any reason.
Right. Any separated reason.
That any separated reason. So would you put that in the form of an amendment to his motion to clarify the language?
Yeah, I can put that in the form. Do we need to add the retroactive also?
So they put the date,
Yes.
That would be good.
Yes, sir. So we'll amend that, but to say
I
at
just-
any point of termination, or at any point
The
of
separation,
separation. And,
Separation for any reason.
yeah, separation for any reason,
Retroactive.
retroactive to January 1st, 2021.
Okay, so thank you. So we have a second to the amendment of the motion. All in favor of the amendment? Okay, now let's move forward with the motion.
Motion now read.
Yes, there is the motion with the second, with the amendment. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? And it is unanimous. Item O is the adoption of the record preservation. Let's see, Mike, sorry, you got that one.
Yes, sir, I'd like to make a motion that we, adopt the records preservation archive plan for the county clerk.
District.
Well, I'm sorry.
Look, he's on
Oh, district, no,
district clerk.
Yeah, I was on the next one, but it for the district clerk.
second.
There's the motion with second. We had that review a little bit earlier. Yes.
Can I add, okay,
$10.
yes, so she collects 5 now, she wants to go to 10, but then come January 1st, it's automatically 10. So,
So
So,
would it become effective immediately upon the action of the
I
court
believe so.
between now and the end of the year and then?
Automatically.
Yeah, it doesn't matter after this. Okay. So the clarification of the wording is what Donnie said.
Increase it to $10.
Adopt the
Adopt the
record
record.
preservation archive plan and increase
be in the
the, for
district
the
clerk.
district clerk in the amount of $10.
Effective immediately?
yes, sir.
Okay. So let's do that for a minute. Get a second on it.
Oh.
For your wording, so that we'll have it in the minutes that shows that we're gonna start, she can start collecting the 10 now, right?
Today.
Yes, sir, but
If he wakes
it's-
up today.
once it's adopted, she automatically starts collecting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So effective today then would be correct.
We're going to adopt it today.
Okay,
Adopt it again.
we're gonna do another one. Okay, so that's for the district clerk.
So the
Everybody know what
motion
we're
is
doing?
to adopt the records preservation archive plan and the increase in fee of, was increased by $5.
Two
So a
ten.
total fee of $10 for the district clerk.
Perfect.
Starting with,
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion with a second on the amendment for this. Are y'all okay with that? All right. All in favor of the amendment? Now, to the motion, adopt the permanent record. All in favor, aye. Okay, now, item P.
adopt the records preservation archive plan for the county clerk.
Second.
Okay, there's the motion with a second.
Yeah, I don't have an increase in fee. We've already been collecting the 10.
Any comments or questions?
Do we need to adopt what you got already?
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, item Q, Commissioner Batcher.
Reappointment of officers of emergency service district number 5. I put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
There is a motion with multiple seconds.
Mike, you could probably speak to that more than I can. I just,
Yeah, we had a call from the Danby Fire Department the other day, and I think all of their members' times have expired. I think Jill used to keep up with that for us.
And I've been working on it for several months now.
So they were needing it for grant purposes. And,
They're all willing to continue on.
yes, they all are willing to continue on.
Do you mean name them?
You can.
Okay, so it'd be Herbert Odom and Johnny Page is the ones that need to be reappointed now.
Any comments or questions?
Call for the vote.
All in favor, aye?
Question?
Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, motion unanimous. Item R, Commissioner Blatcher.
yes, sir. The purchase of the Durkin's building and building materials, electrical service, rock and fencing materials to be paid out of contingencies. The estimated cost will be $22,350. Purpose to relocate maintenance department to a central location at the nutrition center. Now I put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
There's a motion with second. Okay, comments or questions?
What are the dimensions of the building?
It shows it on that, here,
Oh,
like 12 by 30.
well,
It's gonna have, half, well, not even half of it, we're gonna do most of the work ourselves. I've talked with Burtis, and I'm gonna get some of my guys to go do the fencing, because the fencing is just outrageous. And,
it is.
Berta said that, you know, we could easily move that over, and we used our trucks to haul the rock, if y'all decide, for the parking lot. We can move everything over there. Because I think Stephen has some plans for the lower part of the courthouse to be used as a conference.
His office is at conference, yeah. Just over
It just move everybody over there.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Are you ready for the question? All in favor, aye? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Sound like motion carried unanimously. Item S is Commissioner Blatcher.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we rescind the letter of intent to purchase the truck from Caldwell County Chevrolet for precinct 1 due to availability issues.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Comments or
well,
questions? It's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah, the guy, he called me and said I wouldn't get one until mid-year next year.
Wow.
So, and I happened to be getting my oil changed, and I said, hey, man, y'all have, any fleet trucks? He said, I have one.
We can't talk about it yet.
Okay. He's just asking for a
You tell that
rescission.
story.
Okay, there we go. And that prompted me to want to rescind the letter. Rescind the-
All in favor, aye? Okay, that's unanimous. So, Joe, tell us about
Okay.
it.
Well, you know, I kinda did that a second ago, but, okay. Make a motion that the purchase of a 2022 Ford F-250 Crew Cab 4x2 for precinct 1 for facility for the amount of $32,956.
Is there a second? Okay, there is a motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
Tell us the story.
You already heard it.
Are you ready for the question? All in favor, aye?
Uh,
Any opposed? And there's none abstaining. Any comments by court members pertaining to any matters of county government? Any items for executive session?
Comments, I do like the Roman numeral for the table. I do.
Yeah.
Good job.
I do.
What?
Good job for that.
Table out.
That was a good idea.
That way they can just stay on there.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye? And we will stand adjourned.
No longer being recorded.